From the Podcast Detroit studios and Zoom everywhere else, The Making of Champions. Professional boxers inspiring amateur athletes to become champions. Presented by Joe Louis, champion of them all, Bourbon, in association with USA Boxing, Golden Gloves of America, and bigfightweekend.com. Join your hosts, Tanya Cole and Marquise Johns, with special guests from around the world of amateur and pro boxing, celebrating the legacy of Joe Louis, whose status as the first African-American national hero showed the importance of being a leader and a role model inside and outside of the ring.
Welcome to the Making of Champions. I'm Tanya Cole, and with me is Marquise John with Big Fight Weekend. Marquise, who do we have with us tonight?
Absolutely, Tanya. Thanks for having me on as always. Today on the program, we are joined by a three-division world champion, currently the broadcaster for Showtime as well as Telemundo. He'll be live in action calling the fights this weekend with the main event Saturday night, the 24th, as we're recording this, with the IBF Interim Championship on the line against Sergey Lipinets versus Castillo Clayton for the IBM interim title, as well as the Showtime pay-per-view the following week on Halloween, October 31st, with the main event on the line for the WBA 130 and 135 titles between Gervonta Tank Davis and Leo Santa Cruz. We are joined by Abner Morris. Abner, welcome to the program, man. How you doing?
What's up, brother? How you doing? Great to be on. Thank you for having me on, and looking forward to these two matchups that you just mentioned. Even more for the pay-per-view, Leo Santa Cruz that I might know a little bit of. I've only been in the ring twice against him, and Tank Davis almost was in the ring. Unfortunately, I got injured, but definitely forward to all these fights. Thank you for having me on. And I'm a four-time world champion, three-division four-time world champion.
Four-time world champion. Correct me. Please correct me on that.
Yes, get all those wins in there.
Part in all that. Come on.
Correct me on that. Hey, man, 31 and 3, one draw, 15 wins by way of KO, to quote Ramblin' Ralph. Hey, man, first things first. In fact, let me start there with the pay-per-view coming up in Halloween weekend with Davis and Santa Cruz. You know these guys pretty well. Yes. Leo Santa Cruz, you were facing twice, as we all know. In epic fights. Gervonta Tank Davis, you were supposed to fight, but you had to pull up because of a retina surgery. So let's chat me up, man. We had Raul Marquez on last week, who's doing the international broadcast of it. He thinks it's going to be a great atmosphere with fans in the Alamo Dome, as well as a 50-50 fight. Do you agree, and what do you think about it?
I agree, obviously, on the terms of it being more exciting. Now, it is going to be my first fight as a commentator with live audience, since all these fights have been with no audience, so I'm looking forward to that. The energy that's going to be fulfilled obviously that night is a big matchup. It is a great fight, great matchup, two big names fighting each other, but I'm not too sure about the 50-50. I could see where Marquez, you might have an argument on where it might just Leo might have somewhat of an advantage, but so let's get in it. I've been in the ring with Leo Santa Cruz, obviously 24 rounds, 2 times, and plus obviously in sparring sessions that in the youth, when we first started off. We did a lot of sparring sessions, and Tank Davis almost had the opportunity of facing him, but we did get to study him prior to getting in that matchup. So listen, this whole pandemic, this whole quarantine has definitely helped out Tank Davis tremendously. I mean, it's been a curse for many of us, billions, if not the entire world. But for Tank, I think it's been a blessing. And I'm gonna tell you why. I think without the distractions of going out, the friends, just the quarantine itself, just being isolated, the mentality that Tank Davis shows now for this particular fight and for his career now going forward has changed tremendously. I mean, I started following the guy after, my fight got, but since we're not fighting anymore, I started following him, and I see him training like so crazy, man, like a beast. Like really, you could see the change physically and mentally in Tank Davis for this matchup. The change definitely, and this whole quarantine has definitely helped him out, being guided by Floyd Mayweather, just Floyd Mayweather. Who else, right? Only the greatest boxer alive, Floyd Mayweather. And again, it's going to be a great matchup against Leo Santa Cruz. But Leo Santa Cruz brings in the experience brings in the demeanor, the willing, always the balling puncher that he is.
Yeah.
A guy that will test anyone. I don't care what weight class you're in. This guy will test you because he throws so much, he'll tire you. So that's where it plays in. I don't know if the bringing down Tank Davis. Despite him, I know he's gonna make weight. He showed that he's in top shape. He's at 135. 2 weeks prior to the fight.
Yeah.
The volume punching that Leo has is out of this world. It will tire any opponent out, no matter what shape you're in. Physically. So that's where I see it kind of like almost getting to 50-50 because I again I have the advantage for Tank Davis because of the power, the height, the reach, just being the bigger man in that ring. But Leo brings in something that Tank has never seen, which is the work rate.
And speaking of that, I want to piggyback what you mentioned with Tank Davis, because one of the first episodes we had on here, Abner, we spoke to Lamont Roach, who spars with Tank Davis out in Baltimore. We spoke to him about making weight. We spoke to Raul about making weight. Pretty much everyone is been asking him over and over again. I think even Brian Custer on one of these media calls on has asked him about making weight. He's going to make weight. So
Yes.
with that out of the way, and you mentioned before him not having any hurdles or any obstacles. Explain how pretty much as a whole, like how much of that has helped his focus with just going into this fight.
Man, I mean, if Tank was fighting at let's give him 50, 60, 70% in his last fights, and I'm being generous to be honest, because and he could obviously, I think he could say the same thing. He was never ready for 100% for any of his matchups, and I think he spoke about it. He's never trained 100% well for any of his fights, and we all saw what he's capable of doing. We know the talent's there, we know the power is there, but we haven't gotten to see the discipline, and we are seeing it now. And now, okay, I get that he is going to make weight, no problem. But he is a big guy that you're shrinking down to 130. He had problems making already 130. He had problems making him to 135. You know, so again, we were talking about the discipline there. So I don't know if there's going to be a problem there where you shrink a guy too much, and yes, you're going to make weight and you look strong, but come fight night, the endurance it doesn't come up. You might think that it might, but next thing you know, you tire. Despite you training 100%, if you put your body through that pain, your body does not react the same. So I'm intrigued to see what happens, when Leo pushes it.
Absolutely. And actually to piggyback off that as well, you mentioned, I mentioned before, this is going to be the first fight that you call on pay-per-view in front of about 12-5 in front of at the Alamo Dome in front of fans. You've been calling fights so far with Showtime, so far in the fight spear, as Mauro Ranallo calls it out in the Mohegan Sun. Tell me about that experience, and how is it just as a landscape for you just calling these fights now? Like, how different is it knowing that there's nobody there except hearing trainers and people yelling, stick and move and jab?
Well, I can tell you the same thing I think the fighters might say. It's not the same. I mean, as a fighter, getting the extra power, the extra boost from the crowd, I mean, that helps out a lot, And I think even as a commentator, being there and seeing a knockdown or a great punch and seeing or hearing the reaction from the crowd gets you going too, It gets you even more into the fight. So I think I'm missing on that. I cannot wait for that. And I'm looking forward to it, And again, Tank Davis and Leo Santa Cruz, that's 100% Showtime guarantee.
Yeah. And I know for you, not only is this a major fight for you professionally as a commentator, but for you personally, I know you alluded to this before. This was the fight against Gervonta Davis that you wanted to take before you were injured. So tell us, how much of yourself are you bringing to the table when you look at this fight that's coming up?
Well, 100%. I'm focused on this fight because I still have that desire, to be honest, that to someday, somehow, hopefully I get in the ring with any of these guys once again against Leo and hopefully against Tank Davis, because again, my career, I don't see it over quite yet. I want to come back next year in 2021, and hopefully I get my hands in against any of these fighters. But now as a commentator, it brings in, even more, because I get to study them and see what they got. But looking forward to it because Leo has nothing to prove. I'm sorry, a lot to prove, and just a lot to to show to the world that he is capable and to do what a lot of people don't believe in him, you know. And Tank Davis, I just cannot wait to see the new Tank Davis that trains well, that is ready for a mega fight and his first pay-per-view. So he's really looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I don't know if Marquise knows a little bit about this, but I did a little bit of research and I read something about a Twitter beef you had with Ryan Garcia. Can you fill Marquise in and fill the rest of us in about this Twitter beef, what that's all about, what your thoughts are, and piggyback on Jamel Herring and Jojo Diaz for us?
Listen, it was a couple of months ago, and I honestly feel honored still to be quite frankly, because I've been out for quite some time, and for fighters like you mentioned, Jamel Herring, Jojo Diaz, and not so much Ryan Garcia, because I mean, let's be honest, he's no one. He's just he is someone, right? On social media. Yeah. On social media, he's big. I mean, let's be honest. The kid has done a tremendous job working his social media, and he's gotten his name to a point where he's so marketable. To 100%, let's give him that credit. But in boxing, he's no one. And so the fact that Jojo Diaz called me out first, I mean, I told him, hey, let's bring it. Let's get it on. I'll be great. Hometown, he's from LA. I'm from LA. That'll be a great matchup. He's a champion. IBF champion. And Jamel Herring also saying, hey, I would love to have the privilege, he said, the honor of fighting Abner Mares. So, he gives respect and, is giving back to him, WBO champion. So these are great fighters, champions that are still willing to face me because they know I bring it and they know I'm still a threat. Ryan Garcia, getting back on that topic, again, I give him no respect in the ring because he still hasn't earned it. The beef was mainly because I'm taking it back. I'm kind of trying to remember, but I think he disrespected a UFC fighter, a friend of mine, Henry Cejudo, calling him out, saying, "Oh, I would love to get in the ring with him and show him." I don't know what exactly the words he chose, and I just went ahead, did not include his name, but I just threw it out there and said, "Hey, hate when so-called fighters, call out other fighters when yet they still haven't done shit in their own career, like something like that." And he took it personally. Yeah, he took it personal. He came back at me and went back and forth, but it just really never got nowhere. I knew it wasn't gonna get anywhere because he's that type. He's that type that calls out him, her mom, her dad, sister, everyone. Yet he doesn't really get any fight. I'm looking forward to his fight too. He's fighting, and wish him nothing but the best. But he's definitely not on my radar. And I got other people like Tank and Leo.
I got you. Yeah. The Making of Champions on Joe Louis Bourbon continues in a minute. We're going to be back with Marquise Johns on Big Fight Weekend, and we're going to find out what it takes to be a champion.
If the draw against Perez showed that Maris had the speed and skill, in the first round, Maris suffered a cut over his left eye.
Be Joe Louis. 3 simple words to empower the legacy of Joe Louis to inspire a new generation of champions. What does it take to become champions, leaders, future heroes? Joe Louis was the hero America needed then.
He fought for a nation.
Schmeling was the Goliath. Louis was the David.
Probably the only time in history of America that a black man ended up being a white hope.
This fight was the biggest fight in the history of the world.
In the middle of the 20th century, with their country in crisis, Americans found that hero among their own.
We're going to do our part, and we will win because we are on God's side.
His stage was so big that downtrodden Americans, regardless of their age or race, felt a glimmer of hope creep into their lives just by watching him. In the end, he was a common man who reached the top and brought an entire country with him.
Back with the Making of Champions. Marquise, I know you have some burning questions.
Absolutely. Abner, as you may have guessed when we're recording this, this past weekend was the huge lightweight fight between Teofimo Lopez, Vasily Lomachenko.
Yeah.
Wanted to get your thoughts on that fight. And also, you mentioned prior names of Jojo Diaz and Jamel Herring.
Yeah.
Going for a what if at you. Speculation, and I've been harassing my media calls about this. the prospects of Vasily Lomachenko moving down to 130. Would you add that name to your list of radar?
Oh yeah, 100% for sure. I mean, that's a big name to have under your belt, and he's still not done yet. You know, he is what he is. He's a great fighter. You know, he is one of the best. And it's sad in boxing that you lose one fight and you're no longer considered one of the best and greatest. It's just like that. Boom. It was on the pound for pound list, and next thing you know, boom, they drop it out. Yeah, he's gone. It's sad. That's boxing to you. You know, they always remember you and always, remember you and qualify you from your last fight. But I would love to have a fight against Lomachenko. That would be great. And this past weekend, man, against Teofimo Lopez. Go back to my social media. I'm not jumping on the bandwagon. I was 100%
I'm let you finish. I
just want to clear it out. I was 100% sure that Lopez had it in him and that he was going to take it. Why? Because he was a bigger man. He is not just a regular fighter. He's really smart. A lot of people didn't give him credit. He thought he was just a knockout artist. No, he's smart. He has a plan for every fight. And man, he fought really beautiful. I think that the first 5-6 rounds, he did great. He did what he had to. I mean, and I'm sorry, and Lomachenko, that's his fault too, in his corner of not pressuring him to do even more, to do more than he was doing. He was just based on defense, not countering back, and Lopez was just attacking that body, pushing him back, and he got those 5-6 rounds in the pocket easy. The 7th and 8th, the 8th for sure, Lomachenko took it, and then after that, it took off to a great fight that I was looking forward to, back-to-back action. But at the end of the day, Lopez just he walled me. At the end of the day, towards the last rounds, he showed even more because he showed hard and he dug in deep to get that victory. And Lopez, I mean, he's just a superstar in the making. And the way he thinks, how he speaks about how he just wants to fight the best. And really, this guy talks the talks and backs it up. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people give him crap because he talks a lot. And he's like, hey, yo, the guy's he's from Brooklyn, right? Yeah. Or Bronx. I want to say Brooklyn. Kids like that, flamboyant like that, but he backs it up, and Lopez just did a phenomenal job this past weekend.
Any more, Marquise, on that?
Yes, actually, just one thing, because the one thing with that fight that I wanted to catch up on you, and maybe you may look at the same thing that you were on Saturday night. The one thing that Teofimo Lopez was able to do in that fight was pound him inside, and he was able to keep Lomachenko away from him, which is the one thing, like the first 6 rounds in that fight, where he was at a distance where he couldn't throw if he wanted to. And is that kind of what you saw as well?
Exactly, the distance that Lopez dictated, the not just the distance, and also the timing. The timing was good, and his footwork. He was in place, and every time he threw a jab and body, he put himself in the position where Lomachenko couldn't get at him because he was either too far or too close. Lopez just, I think they did a fantastic job on studying Lomachenko. Lomachenko didn't show up, not because it was just a bad night for him. No, because Lopez was just better than him that night.
Yes.
For someone who has won so many fights, such as yourself, because they have said that you have been matched up with some of the toughest competition throughout your career, how does a boxer handle loss when loss is not something that they're familiar with?
In boxing, you know what? For myself, and I only speak for myself again, it's tough. That's for sure. It's tough. Nobody likes losing. For sure. But in my position, when you come from nothing, the bottom, really a defeat is nothing. When you come defeated already mentally, physically, financially, everything to get to where you are, and then you hit rock bottom again, it's nothing new. It's just, hey, we're back where we started. Let's get back up. So with that said, it takes courage, it takes heart, and it takes heart, definitely the desire to just once again forget about the people again, yourself again, that you could do this. Come on, let's go, champ. And I've done it. I've been down many times, not just in boxing, in life. physically, you know, with my injuries, you know, fights getting, you know, canceled and just things that have happened, you know, throughout my life. But I never give up. And losing, you can't just define losing by an actual defeat in a matchup. Again, you know, like my surgery, my fight being canceled against Tank Davis, that's a defeat for me. That's a loss. You know what I'm saying? So, man, you know, it took a lot. I've been out for almost 2 years, so I'm getting back up, and I'm gonna prove to people that I can still do this. I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna win not only a fight but a title soon, God willing, and then I will call it a career and be like,
Okay. Okay.
done.
You said that you found inspiration from Sugar Ray Leonard. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's and I want to tell people because Ray Leonard, not only one of the greatest boxers ever, great speed, great human being, but he and I share something similar, which is the detachment of the retina.
Okay.
He suffered a detached retina, was out for about 2 years, I believe. He came back and fought. I want to say, was it Hagler? I think. Yeah, to become a world champion once again, after the detachment of the retina. And we spoke about it, him and I, in person. So imagine getting that from Sugar Ray Leonard telling me, don't give up. Come on, man. Like, you know, I did this, you know, it happened to me. I came back and I became a world champion. Like, man, that's big. And that's what I'm trying to do, you know. So Sugar Ray Leonard, big inspiration. Because of that, we share that, you know, the same injury, that same story. But I want it to be the complete story of I becoming world champion too.
Mm-hmm. You also said another inspiration for you, and I quote, "Anyone who knows me knows that the women in my life are my strength. From my mother to my wife to my girls, they are my life." How do they inspire you?
And they are, to this day. People still ask me, and I always tell them, "Hey, champ, Abner, when are you having that boy? When's that little champ coming?" I tell them, you see them little girls? Those are my champs. I don't need them to be male for them to be champs. They're gonna be champs in life. You know what I'm saying? So I'm good. I'm blessed. I got my 2 beautiful girls, 14 and 9. My wife, I've been married for 15 years. My mom, who's been, you know, you know, I've gone through so much with my mom. And she is where I get this strength. You know, I always said my mom, from seeing her begging for food, begging for money to feed her children, you know, me seeing it there physically, being outside with her, it just, you know, to not only one kid, not 2, 3, 4, 5, we're 11 siblings. At the time when I saw this, we were 7, 8. So, you know, 100% props to my mom. And again, I always say that I get the courage and I get the strength from my mom. So my queens, my ladies, all girls, no males, anyone, you know, sometimes people say that, you know, strength comes from the male, the muscles, but it's not just physically muscles. It's here and it's here. And that's what my kids and my girls and my mom have always shown me.
We're going to talk about another legend, and I know that you are you're also in that category. But with Joe Louis Bourbon, you know, our mission and our focus is Joe Louis, the boxer, and he's a hero based upon strength, heroism, perseverance, sacrifice, patriotism, and inspiration. As you're approaching your impending retirement after 1 or 2 fights or so, as you would say, what do you think that your legacy would be? And how do you think the Joe Louis legacy inspires others?
Man, just how you said it. I think us fighters, sometimes we don't realize that there's so many eyes on us. You know, people are just looking at us. I get so many messages. People like, man, you inspire me, champ. You know, seeing you get up from injuries and still wanting to conquer the world in boxing and in life. And I think that's the legacy we want to leave, you know, not just in boxing, not just physically the belts, but the courage and the actual showing people that there is greater life, that you could do whatever you put your mind into, as long as you train for anything, not just boxing, train yourself for anything, for the world, for school, for college, for anything. You get yourself ready, you will accomplish that. And me, I think that's the message that I will be sending once I'm done with boxing.
I like that a lot. Now, I know, Marquise, you have some burning questions about what Mars has been up to outside of the ring as well.
Absolutely.
What about that mask?
Yeah, you were rocking masks before it was, pre-pandemic.
Yes.
Talking about the mask and also the merchandise that you're hawking over at AbnerMarsOfficial.com, man.
Yeah, man, AbnerMarsOfficial.com. That's where you get the skull mask. And I've been rocking that since, back in 2012, man. Like,
yeah.
No,
we needed it in 2020 now, though.
Yeah, so I was way ahead of 2020. Yes. So it's basically a bandana, a mask that I will put, on top of my mouth, cover my mouth, and I will walk out, with it, and it's a skull. So the story behind it is that a lot of people might have forgotten, but I had a detached retina back in 2014, 2013.
2008, wasn't it?
2008, man. See,
your
that's
left eye.
Yes. That I had a detached retina, back then. And I took off a whole year, I think close to a year, to come back. And I felt that people had forgotten about me, and I said, I want to come back with something that I could get people's attention, that I walk into the ring and be like, who's that? Who is that? And then we're like, that's Abner, like Abner's back. You know what I'm saying? So I said, I'm gonna wear this bandana that symbolizes just, ferocious, just, back, life and death. That's what I always used to say. Came back from the death, I'm back, So ever since then, I've been wearing my bandana. And a crazy story is that a few fighters, and I see it more often now, but the what's his name, champion Wilder comes out with his own. Deontay Wilder. I've seen a couple of fighters do it differently, not necessarily the actual bandana, but with the covering the space, for sure.
Also, want to ask you, Abner, as well about your podcast that you just launched earlier this month. You spoke with LL Cool J on the hook with Abner Mars, which you can find on Apple Podcasts or wherever you can find these podcast thingies. More like I found them on Google myself. But talk to me about your interview with LL, man, and how that went down.
Oh, that was great. That's a legend, man. I got nervous. I was so nervous, honestly, when I interviewed him. I was like, man, I've done many, boxers and famous people, but LL just, man, he took it. But he made me feel so comfortable, man. He's so down to earth. He knows his boxing. He knows his boxing, man. He knows a lot about it, and we're just talking about the Tank fight, actually. We're talking about my fight, the struggle, actually. We're talking about the life after boxing, how you got to set up your money, be smart about it, financials. Like, yo, man, this guy's smart. LL Cool J, great person. I want to give him a shout out. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to interview him. And yeah, man, check me out on the hook with Abner Mades, my new podcast. I've done three episodes already. It's on all the platforms, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, but like all of them. Check me out, man. But yeah, that was quite the experience. And I'll probably interview him again after the fight, after the Tank Davis fight, because we might put some money on that. I ain't gonna say who I'm going for, just to keep it professional.
Right. And how many of those Rock the Bells robes has he sold thus far?
Oh yeah,
those are
and
nice.
Then not only did I interview him on my podcast, I was part of the official video.
Wow.
For Rocking the Bells, yeah, with so I got the robe, the actual robe. They gave it was a couple of fighters to name: Andre Berto, Andre Durao, Mikey Garcia, Gabe Rosado, and I don't know how many he has sold, but I'm sure he sold a lot.
Yeah. Did you get the white or the black one?
I got the white one. The only one that got the black one was Andre Berto, and we gave him shit for that. I was like, yo, man, how come you get that? That was pretty good. Yeah, but it was great. It was great. It was a good experience.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right. Abner,
I've talked about this fight this upcoming Saturday, the main event, Sergey Lipinets versus Castillo Clayton. I saw his original opponent in Philadelphia last year against Luis Collazo, Kubrate. Yes. I want to say it's Kubrate Akhmadalia, if I've been butchering the name left and right, but I saw him against Collazo last year in Philadelphia. So he can't make it up because of visa issues. What do you know about Custo, and how much of a test will this be for Sergey? Because he's been pretty much just knocking people out the last couple of fights he's been in.
Exactly. Listen, I think this is a tougher fight for Lipinets than the original fight. And I think he knows that. And I think he tries to hide it. And we know Joe Goosen is really well in doing that too. Yeah. He's smart. Joe Goosen is such a smart trainer, such a smart person. And he knows how to get into like the fighter's head. Like, don't get to distract you. Because, I mean, listen, they moved the fight another week. Remember, it was scheduled for last week. And not only that, you know, they already had problems with the opponent, you know, so I heard. And now, you know, the actual fight just falling and getting a new opponent, and not just any opponent. Undefeated knockout power Custio, you know, Clayton. This guy is young too. It's a tough fight for Sergey Lipinets. I think this one's definitely an even matchup. I think they both got something to prove. Sergey Lipinets, despite him coming back from the Mikey Garcia defeat, believe it or not, people still remember him by that. People still remember, the guy that lost by, you know, to Mikey Garcia. Like, and we talked about that in the fighter meeting. It's like, I'm trying to get rid of that. You know, I'm trying to erase that. And I think an opponent like Clayton will be just the person to do it against, because this guy, he brings in power. Again, a 50-50 matchup. You cannot miss this fight. I think, definitely fireworks for sure.
Yeah, that's that people still mention Lipinets for that Marky Garcia fight, considering that I know him personally for the fight of he retired Lamont Peterson.
Peterson, yeah, me too. But that's my dude right there, Lamont Peterson, man. I was sad. I was sad when that happened.
Yeah, that was one of those fights. And also, Abner, we had on one of our early episodes here, we had Malik Hawkins on as well. He's in the co-main event, actually, taking on Cyril Martinez. He mentioned to us that he's going to try to keep it on the outside. Did he pretty much explain that to you in the fighter meetings as well?
Yes, he did. He He said he just want to be in the outside, you know, I'll box him. But if he has to make it a dogfight, you know, the all fighters, we say that, you know, we come in with the game plan, but once you get hit, it's out the window. It's out the window.
Right. All right, Abner. Thank you so much for meeting with us tonight. Again, tell us again about your podcast and how can we find you on social media?
Well, simple. Abner Mares, the one and only, at Abner Mares, and any social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. And for my podcast, it's called On the Hook with Abner Mares, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, all the platforms. Check me out. Thank you guys. And the fights, make sure you guys check out the fights this weekend on Showtime. Sergey Lipinets facing the undefeated Custio Clayton. Cannot miss matchup. And next weekend, we got the major pay-per-view, Tank Gervonta Davis against Leo Santa Cruz.
All right. Now, we know Marquise Johns with Big Fight Weekend is going to be following up on all this as well. Marquise, how can we find you and follow up after the fights?
Absolutely. I'll be talk about all these fights and recapping over at bigfightweekend.com and on Twitter at Weak Sauce Radio.
And you'll find me here. I'm Tanya Cole with Joe Louis Bourbon and the Making of Champions podcast. Thank you and good night.